Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be episode 8 of my Trading 2-1 portfolio. I have been doing some more selling and I do see a few more opportunities on the horizon. So stick me on this one and let's see what we can get into. Now I don't know if you can notice, but this video I have soundproofed quite heavily. I've got a blanket attached to my window. I've got the curtains slightly pulled. I've got this big white sheet to my left, which I did with my photography back in the day. And I've basically coated this table with a blanket just to make it really soundproof. So I hope it actually kind of pays off. So let me know what you think down below if the sound is good. Now enough about the soundproofing of the video, let's move forward with the actual portfolio. Now, as I said before, I have been doing some selling, so I have sold a few things, which I will go through in a minute. But first up, I wanted to say, obviously, thank you very much for your support. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel for more updates like this and all the investing videos that I do. And smash the like button because it really does help me out with the algorithm. Now, in this one, I'm going to do it slightly differently. I'm going to be using the desktop version. I've got my laptop here, and I kind of like the layout a little bit more. So again, let me know what you think down below of the desktop version as we go through this video. So in terms of news and where the market's been in the last month, nothing's really happened. Nothing's changed. Inflation worries are still kind of there. The tapering is on its way. All that kind of stuff. Obviously, with the long-term investing, no one really kind of pays attention to that. If you're a long-term investor, you're kind of more worried about that if you're a short-term investor with swing trading and obviously day trading and things like that. So this is the portfolio. As you can see, I have at the top, let's just bring that down, the account value 3,789. Now in the last video it's 3,604, so you can see it's already gone up. I haven't added any money, anything like that. It's just where the account value has gone up. You can see free funds of £70. In the last video I had free funds of £50, which I'll talk about in a second. But that's the overview there, and you can see that I'm currently sitting at 3.8% up, which represents £132, which I believe is a pretty good month actually. Again, we'll go over that in a second. Now with the £50 free funds that I had last time, I bought some Vissel with it when it was about 15-20% down. And as we scroll down, we can see that's still 15-20%, well, 13% down overall, just because it's kind of, you can see here over the last month, it's just trailed down a little bit, but obviously still high hopes for this company in the future, at least in my opinion. So yeah, moving on, I'm just going to read off a little bit of a list here because I did do some selling over the course of the last month, and I did do some buying as well. So on the 4th of August, I had quite a busy day. I did a lot of selling. And I did a lot of buying. So here we go, I sold 0.5 Etsy just before the earnings at 203, and it dropped back down to 170 or 175, something like that. So I believe that was a good call, at least in my opinion, short term at least. I sold 3 NIO at 45 because I do see it going down, because we'll jump into some technical analysis with NIO soon. But I do see that going down a little bit further just because it has broken through that 200-day moving average. And then with that, I freed up, I don't know how much that was overall, but I bought 20 more Nano, I bought 30 more Vislink Technologies, and 15 IZEA. Now, obviously, IZEA for me has never been great, but I just wanted to top it up, average it down even just slightly, and we'll click on it here. And you can see here the average price is 436, and I think in the last video it was like 450, 460, something like that. So yeah, just bit by bit, I might just buy and average it down over time. Obviously it is quite a hefty one for me, and the stake is actually higher than Palantir, for example. And Palantir, obviously I'm very bullish for the future on. I don't really want to have so much of a stake in this one, but it is what it is. It's sitting there, and I have actually just released very good earnings in the last couple of days, so the future is bright for them. And I actually did a video on them last week, an IZEA stock update, so you can see that in the top right hand corner if you're interested. It's kind of my thoughts on where the company's going, what they've done over the last sort of year. The reason I have actually sold off 5 more NIO, and the reason being is I wanted to show you the charts here. Just get rid of the advert. You can see here that the 200 moving day average is kind of basically following this line recently, roughly, and you can see the 50-day moving average is kind of tight to it. Now what we've had recently before is it's broken down below this line and it's touched the 38 mark. Now I don't see much of a support or resistance around this area in the 39.40, so I do believe that it can actually bounce off this line again in the near future, in which case I will jump into it and obviously take a position, well, take more of a position in it. And obviously if it sinks down below, I'll take even more of a position in it, because I'm very bullish on NIO going forward. So that's just a little technical analysis demonstration there for you of what I kind of think might happen to NIO in the coming weeks. So going back to the portfolio, obviously we'll go through these quickly. Etsy, they have travelled pretty much horizontally for the last month. They've been up to 208 and lows of 178, like I mentioned with the earnings report that happened. So they've just trailed horizontally. I'm still holding there at 20% up, which I'm pretty pleased about, and I obviously have high hopes for the future for these guys because my girlfriend uses them, and that's pretty good sign. We can go down to IZEA here. Obviously, I did mention before I did buy some shares in this 15, and it's still sitting like 50% down. It hasn't done anything in the last month. It's actually 7% down, but you know, riding it out, holding that one. Moving on, we've got Nano Dimension. As I said, I did buy some of these, and again, it's kind of trailed horizontally. Not a lot's really happened. Oh, excuse me. Not a lot's really happened in the last month in terms of stocks, like I mentioned before, no news or anything like that. And moving down onto NIO, obviously we just spoke about NIO, so we just brushed past that. Palantir in the last month have kind of edged upwards actually, and they've just smashed earnings. They've got good guidance, massive news, and you know, everything's just going very well for Palantir. You've probably seen loads and loads of videos on that on YouTube pop up recently in the last few days, and you can see here the last day or so it's gone up about 11%. Let's have a look. Yesterday actually 11%. It actually went up to highs of 25, almost 26, and obviously a huge company for the future, and I do actually have a video on them as well. It's a bit dated, but you can go ahead and watch that in the top right corner if you feel like it. Moving on to Tesla, and you can see here they've had a pretty good month, up 5%, which considering it's Tesla, they haven't had the greatest of years. So if we look back at the start of the year, which I think was about here, 735, and they're pretty much horizontally at 722. But given the year they had before, which was pretty much this, I think that's fair enough. And lastly, before I jump off into the allocations, Untitled Technologies, I mentioned I have bought quite a few more shares of these guys just to average down. My last average price was about 260, 270, now it's down to 243, which I'm pretty pleased about. I think they could easily get to $3. Hopefully by the end of the year, if not slightly longer, that's okay. It's a long-term investment portfolio. So now moving on to allocations, you can see here that my NIO has actually dropped down to the third position, and that is because of my anticipation of it dropping, and then obviously I will put the money back into it, maybe slightly more, depending on when it coincides with my next pot method input to my financial pot. And then so for the moment, Palantir is taking second spot, and partly because they had smashing earnings the last few days, so obviously it has pumped them up quite nicely as well. But they do sit in very respectable positions of 17 and 16%, which I'm pretty pleased about. Obviously Tesla my biggest holding because I see them being the brightest going forward. Further down we've got Etsy and Nano Dimension holding kind of mid-table there. Mid-table? There's a football reference there for you. Holding mid-table there at 11 kind of ish percent. And then we've got the small fries, which is IZEA and Visling, which are kind of my more hopeful investments long term. So overall, I think the balance there is very good. So you've got two, and then one big one, which I think is I think that's well balanced for a long-term high growth portfolio. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. I'd like to know your kind of input, what your thesis is regarding that kind of layout. So just before we jump off this, let's have a look at the last month. We can see it's kind of been up and down in terms of price. And kind of where I am, but that's to be expected with a high growth portfolio. It's quite fairly volatile, but I'm used to that obviously because I've been in this for quite a while. And you can see here the dotted line, which is my invested money, popped up a little bit here, and that's when I mentioned that I bought the Visling for 50 kind of pounds-ish, and you can see the invested went from 3,567 to 3,615. And then this day, which was the 4th of August, which I mentioned earlier on in this video, where I took a bunch of money out, I sold off some shares, I took some profits actually, and then moved it. I basically risk transferred, and that's when I sold all of those stocks and I bought all of those stocks, which I mentioned before, and then just trailing on here. And then I took out a bunch of money there, which was basically just 5 NIO shares. It just looks more dramatic than it actually is, because it's worth a little bit more than kind of what I was doing around here. So that's my portfolio. I hope you took some value from it. If you did, leave a comment down below. Obviously, I did talk a little bit about risk transfer and what I did there, especially on the 4th of August, where I sold a bunch of stocks that were in green, and I kind of went into the ones that were red. That's part of my risk transfer kind of philosophy, and you can check that out in the video that I've done on risk transfer in the top right hand corner. I really do appreciate you watching that. You probably, hopefully, will learn something from that video, so obviously please go ahead and watch it. Now, with that being said, thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe to the channel if you do like this type of content. Really do appreciate it, and obviously hit that thumbs up button. I appreciate that too. And with that being said, thank you very much for watching. Invest safe, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.